Welcome to Baltimore from wherever you are. We appreciate your joining us in this unprecedented time across the social distance. During today's presentation, we hope you will mark your presence. You can post emojis if there is a particular part of the presentation that moves you or inspires you. You can also post comments and questions in the chat box. At the end of the presentation, we will invite you to also post on your own Facebook page or pages or other social media, and please include one or more of the hashtags.
Greetings. J. Herbert Nelson, Stated Clerk of the Presbyterian Church, USA. And I want to take an opportunity to share with you ways by which we have been able to engage Baltimore with the Youth Rising event. We were sitting at a table at Light Street Presbyterian Church, trying to figure out and grapple with what would be the project that we would use in Baltimore and how we would begin to look at the context of that city and how we could impact it. There was a group from Baltimore Presbytery, and there were those of us who came from the office of the General Assembly. And there were also persons who were, in a sense, not bystanders, but who had an investment in the life of that community as well as in the life of the individuals, i.e. the young people in Baltimore who needed to have help. For a few hours, we sat down and talked about what work we were wanting to do, not the work that we had designed or the work that we wanted to do with regards to a specific project, but to let those persons in Baltimore know that this was a part of our assembly and asking them what was the project that they wanted to work on. As anticipated, there was an intense struggle in the room as there were several ideas around what should take place and what projects would be meaningful to be a part of this assembly. And it was in those moments that we finally came out with an understanding of the youth of Baltimore needing an opportunity to be not only heard, but to be given economic opportunities. And we found that there were individuals in Baltimore who were working with those projects without the assistance of the larger denomination, but really being able to piece things together, but it was not enough. The squeegee kids, as one group began to call them, the children who don't have enough money in their home. And I will never forget the number of young people who were running down cars and streets just to clean their windows in order to be able to make some money. This says something to each and every one of us who talked about this as a possibility for a project. Baltimore Presbytery decided this was the work that we were going to do there. And this is the work that they wanted us to join them in. And I'm convinced that in a sense, when we think about a city that has burned twice, a city that left its youth in the parking lot of a school without the buses coming to pick them up in the midst of a riot, in a city where the CVS that burned down, from what we were told, you had to live within or outside of the city limits at least 20 miles in order to get a job there. Many of our questions as to why Baltimore has been such a difficult place to settle down, the reality hit us in that moment, that it's because from youth to adulthood, many people remain in poverty and frustrated in that city. And so the project that we agreed on, along with the Baltimore Presbytery, was to be able to work in the inner city to help those young people who really needed help, who had started their own entrepreneurial business. But as you know about startups, it takes money. And yet, it is also a way of us expressing the need to help to get our youth out of poverty, to get them schools and in communities where schools will educate them properly, and to give them the opportunity over and over again to see glimpses of hope day by day and not have to run behind cars, trying to wash windows on automobiles in the middle of traffic to make a living for themselves and to help their families. That's what we are doing. That project fell on the hearts of those of us in the room. And it is our prayer that that same project will fall on the hearts of Presbyterians who are gathered at this General Assembly and who are watching it by electronic media, to give to this particular organization, to give to these young people, to give to them hope, and most of all, that one day we can look back and know that we made a deep contribution to the betterment not only of Baltimore and its children, but to the world that these young people will enter and make a difference. That's our Christian responsibility. That's our calling in this moment as a General Assembly. That's our expectation that Presbyterians will do what we've always done: give to mission and give to the spirit of those who need it the most. Thank you for what you're already planning to do.
Well, a new facility opens its doors to lock up juveniles charged as adults.
The kids who squeegee at intersections throughout the city are not only potentially bringing harm to themselves, but others as well.
Baltimore spends less on recreation and education today than it spent in 1993.
You can't continue to say, get these kids off the street, but we don't have nowhere to send them to.
Being young, well, actually being young and black in Baltimore is actually, it's just like a wake-up call. You have to be awake every time you leave this house. Every time you step foot out this house, it's just like you're the target.
You have this peer pressure, like the pressure of wanting to be hard, wanting to be something you're not, and it's like at the same time, we don't really have, that strong, male role models in our life.
We look at the statistics in the community that I serve, where 3% of the community are males that are incarcerated.
I fortunately was able to have people in my life that kind of steered me in the right direction, if that makes sense. And I know that's not the same luxury that's afforded to other young black men in Baltimore.
It's just a lot for a young individual. I mean, like, I have a younger brother. He shouldn't be worrying about, like, hey, is this okay if I can go out into this area knowing what all this stuff is going on? Is it safe for me? So it's just crazy. I mean, a kid, my brother's only 11. A kid that age shouldn't be thinking his future that way.
I think that there aren't a lot of youth entrepreneurs in Baltimore because I believe there's a lack of support in terms of what youth want to do.
So just seeing like kids out on the corner and stuff, like block boys, drug dealers, not having a place to go. If there was an active black-owned business in that community, the whole block would be shifted. It will be shifted.
I bring you greetings in the name of Jesus Christ, who is my risen Lord and Savior, and I'm honored. I'm born and bred in Baltimore, and I'm an ordained minister in Baltimore. And I remember when General Assembly was in Baltimore 20 years ago and looked excited about being and looking at you all face to face. But God and the world are a different place. And so we are called to be in a place of serving God regardless of the situation. And so in 60 days, these young people have come together. They've come up with issues. They had a love for the city, a love for knowing that greatness can come out of them and their colleagues.
When I look in the mirror, what do I see? I see a rose that grew out of concrete, a jagged red flower blooming up out of broken streets, watered with asphalt and fed by stomping feet, but I know y'all know what I mean. Baltimore is the perfect kind of place for those seeds already. But just like how our African ancestors believed There is no me without a he, them, or she, so I think it's time for us to tell you about our community. We are Youth Rising,
a coalition of rising stars.
We're standing up to raise the bar.
We hold these dreams close in hopes they take us far.
Youth Rising Coalition is a brand new network of 14 to 24-year-olds who are just filled with ideas and energy and hustle.
Youth Rising is the beginning of a movement in which young entrepreneurs from underserved communities learn to sell online, but it's not as simple as that sounds.
Youth Rising aims to address inequities by meeting young folks and young entrepreneurs where they are, rather than asking them to meet certain quotas or certain profiles.
So amidst COVID-19, when they can't see their friends, see their teachers, go to church, they have become a community.
Being a part of Youth Rising is powerful. It gives you access to different types of people with other types of connections, so you don't feel like you're alone when it comes to business-wise. For entrepreneurs, I would really support being a part of Youth Rising, whether it be social or business-wise, because it gives you access to those different resources.
Instead of telling a youth, you must have this type of product, we ask what is either their creative process or what would they like to come out of their business, in order for us to know what we are specifically facilitating for that young entrepreneur.
So I remember being invited to come to a meeting by the great Elder James Parks, probably in the September of 2019, which seemed a year, light years ago, to talk about the social action that would happen during the General Assembly in June of 2020. And so what we did was bring together organizations that we know were already doing good work, that had their feet on the ground, that were working towards the social justice and addressing issues of young people in the city. And so we called Newlands to the table, a youth-led media enterprise. They take the untold stories of young people and put it in film. And we called No Boundaries Coalition, which is a coalition of over 20, 30 churches that have been doing this work for social justice. We called upon Jubilee Arts, that has a youth entrepreneurship program, programs that got started and birthed at the death of Freddie Gray. Young people that came together and had t-shirts around social justice of dismantling racism, Black before it was cool. Young people that took the charge and said, again, we are the many, not the few. Youth as resources that gives money, young people that give grant money to other groups of young people. Micah, which supports young people using art as a system and mechanism for social change. Art as an expression of how I can have voice.
Youth Rising is a continuation of the work started with Corner Boys Enterprises. Corner Boys Enterprises started as simple as someone walking up to a group of young folks that work and operate a lean startup by cleaning car windows and asking, what would you need to take your business to the next level?
One of the things that the Presbyterian Church established years ago is a program known as Self-Development of People. And it is an effort to support organizations where the people who are impacted are the people doing the organizing.
We have been funding for 50 years communities, individuals who want to improve their quality of life, not only here in the United States, but in Panama and in Nicaragua and Guatemala and Rwanda and the Dominican Republic, just to name a few countries. Although youth entrepreneurship is not new, this generation today, these young people in Youth Rising, are redefining youth entrepreneurship and business in their context.
Youth in Business is an entrepreneurial leadership program that teaches high school Black teens how to run their own business in the West Side area in Pennsylvania Avenue. We actually been at for the past 6 years after the uprising in Baltimore City.
So me being a youth entrepreneur started within the Jubilee Arts Youth and Business Program. Kind of being in that program and like learning the ins and outs of like entrepreneurship and learning how to do like different design skills kind of like really pushed me to be interested in entrepreneurship?
Starting out, we started selling them to our community, and then that's when we reached into the faith-based community. That's when we started going out to the Presbyterian churches to start selling our products. So the Presbyterian churches, they'll be having like certain events. My aunt, she's the minister, so she's Reverend Brown. So she'll be like, while she be preaching, she'll be actually having us come in and selling our products, our merch. Summer 2018, we made about $30,000 from selling our t-shirts, our products. We're actually generating money and back into the community and help like uplift our community.
Baltimore City Mayor Jack Young designated June Youth Rising Month, and today there was a launch party for Baltimore's Youth Rising Coalition in the Poly Western High School parking lot on West Cold Spring Lane.
To be an entrepreneur at our age, like people would think that we the ones who out here doing like stealing cars and robbing people, but we actually doing positive things.
I started my business 4 years ago when I was 16. I started a henna company. Henna for me is a part of my culture. I'm half Indian, so it's something that I do all the time for holidays, birthdays, we do that as a gathering.
I started my cooking business when I was actually, like 14. But I actually been cooking when I was 7 with my grandmother. You know, Brandy's always got that good food starting up.
My brand is Pharaoh Collection. My motto is Royal Fashion for Kings and Queens. I sell clothes, sweatsuits, cologne. Just trying to keep my last name going and to build a brand for my daughter so when she gets older, I can have generational wealth.
Well, for me personally, I wanted to start thinking about what I wanted to do about my life in high school. With my business, it's typically just artwork that represents Black women, how strong and powerful we are, and also acknowledging the way that we're treated in today's world, but also not forgetting that our Black men experience the same treatment, and in specific aspects even worse.
And I'm very big in photography, and it's what I say is I try my best, to project, what I see, the good in Baltimore, because there's so much negativity. I consider myself as a community activist, but at the end of the day, I just want to create a change in my city.
My business is the BMO brand. Right now, it's just Baltimore-based and inspired apparel, using apparel to kind of restore and promote a sense of pride in Baltimore. It's pretty awesome, creating my own products and seeing people enjoy it and I don't want to say fangirl over it, but just really be excited to get it.
What drives me to be an entrepreneur is I don't want to work for anyone else. I know that I can build up myself, and if I can give someone else 12 hours a day, 9 to 5, why can't I build that and put that into myself every day? The
reason why I wanted to start the BMO brand is to kind of be a mentor or be something for other, just young people in Baltimore in general that I may not have had or someone else may not have had as well.
Just the change, it's how we're perceived, because it's a lot of things that just aren't fair. I know that although most likely I won't be allowed to see it, that it will be possible eventually.
Most people sell drugs and do dumb stuff, you get what I'm saying? And we just find a different way so we don't have to go through certain things.
Tupac says, I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee I'm going to spark the brain that is going to change the world.
The young people have come together. They had a logo contest. They selected their own logo and their own themes in 60 days. June the 12th was the first day they met. So they've been meeting for a month and never met each other. They came up with 4 initiatives that they wanted to work on. And the first one is about fellowship and supporting one another.
Reaching out to other young entrepreneurs, just come together as one and just let our voices be heard, just saying hey, we're the next faces that's stepping up to the plate. So these are the faces that you'll be seeing, and this is what we need as a whole, as one.
Me on a phone call with 30 young Black entrepreneurs. you know, and then just like hearing their stories, and it's like hearing their business, this business, it kind of like ignited, you know, the fire, you know, that I already had inside me, because it wanted me to be better.
It's really important to have a support system that helps you when you need it. And so just like asking for advice, showing them when I'm working, asking them, what do you think, a critique.
I'm a henna artist and I do it by myself a lot. So I think being able to bring other artists along with me and teach, and being able to spread the art and share it would be a success for my business.
Since we had hit our target market in the state of Maryland, we would like to explore, open up to other markets.
I guess the number one challenge would be like taking advantage of social media. Because it's kind of hard to make a connection with someone through a phone or a screen versus physically being in their presence and having a conversation about what's important to you.
During this whole COVID thing, I've had to kind of bring it back a little bit, and I can't be in contact or that close to people like that anymore. I kind of branched out and started something else. I started a natural remedy line. Especially during this time, a lot of people don't know a lot of natural ways that we can heal and help each other, so I really wanted to tap into that.
This year, actually, around this time, I would be actually in our house. But due to the pandemic and stuff is going on, we had to cancel it. But next year.
Taking my business to the next level would mean expanding nationwide, being able to ship my things worldwide. Youth Rising will help me do that because we have the platform to connect to all these other people and to meet these other people and network.
If we try to market ourselves better with new marketing, new networks, new connections, we can find a better way on try to improve our craft to the next level.
Baltimore is a city of artists and makers. Not all of them make their living that way, but there are a lot of them around, and many of them have not known how to meet a market.
MICA has one of the largest public arts festivals in the country. The entire section of Baltimore is closed off. Tens of thousands of people come to this festival every year. It will not happen. The Youth in Rising will have a store inside of this virtual market and pay nothing for it. Do you see how God has allowed these young people, amongst the continued closing down of businesses and festivals and social distancing, the young people will be closer than the air that you breathe.
You need money to start things. You need money. So without money, you're broke. You can't start. You can't get the head start as you would like. So if you had the money, if you had the support, the financial support, you can set your budget up and you can get the things that you need to like help you improve your craft. So that's how's that our priority, just finding ways to get money for our business.
I think space as well, like get space to hold those workshops, or just like space to kind of like set up a shop to like print out my shirts, or even like help others print their shirts as well.
In a state like Maryland, we have one of the wealthiest cities in the United States with a per capita of almost $250,000 a year. The per capita in the community that I serve, Sandtown, Winchester, which is where Freddie Gray was murdered, the per capita is $13,000.
I have a friend who works in the Middle East, and he said, Sherry, this is a problem around the world, that you have youth who have been trying to help their families economically, because they're not just trying to feed themselves, they are helping with the family income. And these are good kids who are looking for legal ways to help themselves and to help their families. And so economic depravity is a type of violence. Poverty is violence. And this is not a gift. This is helping people learn how to support themselves and to thrive, and also to have voice.
As a youth, for me, just because I'm a chef, things can get overwhelming. So if you have a mentor that can actually like guide you to show you the way on how to like take it all in without feeling like pressured or like exhausted at the end of the day, that can like help you improve and, you know, just like better you as a person and also better your business.
We're also making a space for them to network with each other and with mentors, in the intention of bringing in mentors that have experience in business leadership, thought leadership, entrepreneurship, so that youth and young folks can use those tactics and techniques learned in their business immediately.
Man, the tools, well, just like, of course, like guidance, like, you know, but before the money, before anything comes in, you know, I just want that proper guidance.
Youth Rising has a developmental aspect to it. So we're not just taking their wares and sticking them online. There's a lot of training that is going on and will continue to go on, because the next group of Youth Rising participants will be those who weren't already selling, but who want to.
The idea of mentors giving their voice and their experience without charging young folks is often a key asset to young folks, because that's what they're seeking by going out and doing it through experience. They're able to get to a certain point, but because there are glass ceilings, unless you have sat in a directorial position or you've sat in a managerial position or a creative director position, which is a lot of what I do for KBZ, then you have nothing to offer them yet except hopes and wishes, and those are great. But they need tangibles and they need the knowledge that comes from experience.
Social racism more refers to the opportunities offered to people, but systemic more refers to how the government is set up to disadvantage that group. I actually conducted a race and racism workshop probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I talked about that. And one of my main ways to dismantle systemic and social racism would be to invest into Black-owned businesses.
I always think of the example that we have within the Black theology, womanist theology, liberation theology, of looking at the text of Abraham that is going up the mountain with his son, Isaac. And Isaac keeps saying to his father, "Where is the sacrifice?" And Abraham keeps saying, "The Lord will provide, my son." And when he gets up to give the sacrifice, he takes his son and puts him on the altar, and he looks to the side and he sees a ram in the bush. And so what's needed, people of color need a ram in the bush.
Often when we think of starting people in business, we just think of the business part. The lives of youth in Baltimore are traumatic enough that you really have to address the whole person. And that is the approach that we are taking. They are smart, they are funny, they are creative, they bring all of that to the table, and they need to be met with the challenge of creating more, of learning more. And so that piece that is about mentoring and is a really important part. The rest is almost anybody can do. We have data. The Baltimore Metropolitan Council has issued a report that says Baltimore does not and will not have jobs that will support people, living wages, living family wages in the traditional wage earning sector, that there's not enough infrastructure to even build that. So we have to think about entrepreneurship.
I hope my business for my family can be another outlet to build our empire as a family and our generational wealth. That's very, very, very important to me and my family. So I want to be a part of that as much as I can.
Well, for my family, I want us to be able to live comfortably and to not worry about things that really don't matter. I feel like basic necessities of like living should be accomplished, because it doesn't make any sense that my family have to work as hard as they do just to want to live comfortably.
One of the things that I kind of like have been learning about is like generational curses, but kind of like using my entrepreneurship as a way to kind of like set a new standard for people in my family.
I try my best. Like, I really want to spark a change, you know, in my community.
Like, hey, in the small city Baltimore, there's actually entrepreneurs that's trying to make a change.
We live in a time when, and of course the youth entrepreneurs talk about branding, but we live in a time where people often talk about how important it is to get your own name out there. But when you're talking about coalition work, it's not an either or, it's a both and. So yes, I want to know your identity as a person. I want to know your identity as an organization, but I also want to claim how is it that we are connected and working together. That's how we find the power, right? And so how do we continue to lift each other up in those ways, and celebrate both what makes us unique and different and what brings us together that we care about so deeply in common.
We ask that you would go to the market, and the MICA market will be open forever. Whereas as we begin to move further and going beyond social distancing, we're going to be inviting other young people that are entrepreneurs to come and be a part. There will be an institute where young people who have a passion and desire will be given the support to continue to build their business. These young people want to be job creators, not job seekers.
Almost anybody can do, but only people who truly care, who have nothing to gain from this other than the joy of watching what happens with the kids, are being brought to this table. And that intangible part, the part that sometimes the business part of the country doesn't necessarily get, is what we bring to this enterprise. It has to be both.
To someone who's skeptical about supporting youth entrepreneurs, they're the leaders of tomorrow's future. There's no other way to put it. If you're not willing to invest in them, I don't believe that you're willing to invest into the future. Our minds are flourishing because we never had a chance to speak about it. And you can't just sleep on that.
Youth Rising is the future of Baltimore, and youth are the future of Baltimore.
This is the time for us as a community, as a whole, as one, to come together and just, with one voice, we can be powerful people on earth.
We are Youth Rising! Oh my God, that was so good!
Support Youth Rising by spreading the word about our work and posting these hashtags on your social media platforms. Hashtag Youth Rising Coalition, hashtag Youth Building Up Baltimore, hashtag Presbyterians for Youth Rising. You can donate, purchase our merchandise, and learn more about our efforts at youthrisingcoalition.org.